member for St. Michael South Central.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I wanted to lend my voice to this resolution because I think that the matter of the governance of the country is very important, and to the extent that there are changes to the structure of governance, that it bears discussion in this honorable place. Now, I do believe that there is a need for coordination across the various sectors in which the government works. I don't know if the 4 ministers who have been chosen would consider themselves elevated, as the word that we heard in the presentation, because it means for them quite a bit more work. But I think that we do need, in our service to the people of the country, we need to look at the issue of coordination of how that work is done. I agree with the member for St. Michael's Southeast who presented this resolution that there is a lot of heavy lifting. And I think that this is not the occasion to get into a discussion of the value of the work that ministers do. I don't think that this country will ever reach consensus on that question. But I think that it is a time to look beyond the individual roles and to look at whether the systems exist for this coordination to happen. Now, I do not want to seem unsupportive of the measure, but I always am wary of the habit of throwing people at problems. I think that we have to get past the notion that if there's something to fix, you identify a person and you have that person be assigned to fix it. Now, that might be a necessary condition, but most of the time is not a sufficient condition. So yes, we have senior ministers with coordinating functions, but what does that coordination look like? The real function of coordination really must happen in a meaningful way at the level of the ministry, at the level of the departments, at the level of the same systems that we spoke of earlier today when the member for St. James Central introduced the supplementary on the electronic single window. Now, some months ago, the government engaged in something called a commitment for results project or pilot or exploration. And one of the things which I thought was a very worthwhile exercise, and I hope it continues, I saw the Honorable Prime Minister make reference to it the other day and give the assurance that it will continue and that it will come to fruition. But during that exercise of having this results-based approach to what we do, this commitment for results approach to what we do, one of the things that as we sat with officers and went through the exercise to settle this commitment for results approach, one of the things that was made clear in that exercise was that one of the chief reasons for failure in governments across the world, in large corporations across the world, has to do not necessarily with the people, but with the systems, and whether there are real systems that exist to allow the things that we want done to be done, whether people are measuring results, whether people are measuring performance. Because certainly the number of reports written or the number of cabinet papers written is not a result. Are we really measuring the impact on people's lives? And it's not easy to measure that. But again, I find myself having to caution us all that simply having an individual, a role, a function that is called senior minister might be a necessary condition, but it certainly is not sufficient. And we need to be able to move to the place where we have coordinating systems, including data sharing across ministries, including making sure that when we leave meetings, work is being done. Because with all due respect to the systems of government that we have come to know, a meeting is not a result, and a meeting is not a management function. Because when you leave those meetings, somebody has to go back and do some work that is actually going to make a difference in somebody's life. I support the areas that have been identified for coordination. So forgive me if I am not enamored of the senior minister notion. I am more enamored of the function of coordination. That really has to happen at the level of the ministry. That really has to happen between town planning and environmental protection and building standards and housing and across functions of ministries, and not necessarily at the level of cabinet. Members of cabinet talk to each other all the time. So I'm more curious to hear what are the systems, and I don't mean meetings, what are the systems, what are the platforms, what are the points of data sharing that are going to mean that what is here in this resolution actually makes a difference to the quality of governance in this country. I support the infrastructure coordination function. I in particular support the governance coordination function because I think that there are, whether it is reform on the rights of the child and other human rights issues, whether it is looking at the issues of how our police engage with the public and really looking at what are the organs and the roles of the police department that are going to mean that we have a more meaningful engagement with the public. Across the area of governance, there are issues to be addressed and gaps to be filled. Similarly, for the issue of coordination across social ministries, and obviously for the productive sectors. But my only caution is that this is not going to go where we want it to go. This is not going to have the results that we anticipate unless we realize that it cannot just be about identifying for people. It has to be about strengthening the systems that exist in the public service to be able to address and properly coordinate for results and for impact. Mr. Deputy Speaker, thank you.